Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 1000 Calorie Cheese Sauce. Today you're joined by both of your hosts, Sundown and my brother, Saki.
What's
And
up? What's up? What's
yes,
happening?
yes, so just very quickly, because I think we have to say something about this. Um, the playoffs have concluded
NFL
and we're
playoffs.
going into the Super Bowl. Sorry?
The NFL playoffs, yes.
Yeah, the NFL playoffs have concluded and we're going into the Super Bowl in like what? Is it next weekend? Is it next weekend?
Yeah, that's right. Next Sunday.
Yeah. I need to take a day off work, but
I already
yeah,
booked
so
it.
next weekend. You've already booked it?
Yeah, I booked it.
Right.
I started a new job, and as soon as I started the job, I booked off the Monday after the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
Yeah, for those
Yeah,
of you who don't
I need
know,
to get on
in the UK, if you're watching the Super Bowl, it starts at like 12:30 or something like that, and it goes on until about 4, half 4 in the morning.
that.
So
Yeah.
I could either go to work tardy or I just what I've been doing for the last 6 years of working is just take the damn day off and you're Gucci.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's a Super Bowl between the Bengals and the now LA Rams as opposed to the St. Louis Rams or Lois. I'm not sure how it's actually pronounced.
Yeah, it's St.
Uh,
Louis Rams maybe growing
the
up.
St. Louis, yeah, but I still feel they're the St. Louis Rams, but just very quickly, let's go over what our thoughts are. So, what are your thoughts? Because I know you have opinions on this, on the fact that it's a Bengals LA Rams Super Bowl. The fact that those two teams are there. What are your feelings on that?
I don't think anybody. I think somebody probably made some good money somewhere. Uh, you know, if they guessed that the Bengals were going to play the Rams in the Super Bowl. I think my main thoughts on it is the quality of the playoffs. Uh, they would like you to believe, I think, that the parity, how tough the teams played against each other, and we talked about this last week, where they were trying to sell us that these are the best playoffs, the best quality of play. It was the opposite. It was the quality of play by the big teams, the perennial Super Bowl, the contenders, like the Packers, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers over the last 2 years, but any team that's Tom Brady's on. Who else? Pittsburgh, maybe, even though they've been kind of in and out of the playoffs recently. The quality
Hmm.
of play, even by the Titans, right, the Tennessee Titans, the quality of play by those, the tough teams, the ones who were, contending, they were just poor. It was just poor. It wasn't like, the other team gave them like a bad run. A lot of these teams had, two touchdown leads and then just collapsed. Even like 10-point leads, and they just did nothing in the second half to set themselves apart. I think the only team that kind of in a losing effort made the best effort was unsurprisingly the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Any
Hmm.
team that has Tom Brady on it, you always have a chance. And now
Yeah.
the boys retiring officially now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is your first hearing of it. The news has been broken to us. That was funny actually. The fact that it was broken by like Schefter, Adam Schefter, who's like some sort of sports journalist, I think. He was like, "Oh yeah, Tom Brady's retiring," and then Tom Brady's dad and Tom Brady himself were just like, "Oh no, the hell I ain't. Where the hell you heard this?"
Well, that was
So
the thing.
then he was like, "Yeah,
The reason why people were like doubling down on yes he is retiring is because he didn't say no I'm not retiring.
yeah,
He
yeah."
said he hasn't made the decision yet, and it was just like yeah bollocks to that. You've made the decision. He must have told somebody like one of his mates, and then that particular person must have broken his trust by accidentally leaking it or whatever or even on purpose leaking it, whatever the case may
Hmm.
be. But that news wasn't supposed to go out. It was supposed to be. I think I have a feeling he must wanted to do like some kind of press conference or something like that, and that went down the toilet.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but yeah,
it should be a good Super Bowl. I personally feel that the Bengals team aren't ready. There's nothing about them that I think is particularly good apart from the throws between Burrow and Jamar Chase. T Higgins,
hmm.
the other receiver, plays pretty well, but overall, like their defense isn't. I don't think throughout the year we considered them a powerhouse. Their offense, we didn't particularly consider them a powerhouse. They were pretty good. Uh, but their offensive line is a shambles still. Like I still don't understand how Joe Burrow has managed to survive some of these games, let alone not get sacked all the time. Like he should be he should be getting his ass kicked. So I think that coupled with the fact that the Rams have got an amazing D line, they're gonna struggle against the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams should easily win this game. They're at home. There ain't nobody on the planet who's gonna host a Super Bowl, which is this is two times in a. The crazy thing is, on a slight tangent, there hasn't been a Super Bowl team, a team that's playing in the Super Bowl, play at their home stadium, and all of a sudden, last year the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played at their home, and then the Rams this year are playing at their new home. I thought that was quite funny, the fact that it's been 50 something years and that it hasn't happened, and then 2 years in a row. But there ain't no way that the LA Rams are going to lose in their house. They're trying to make this game, as the Americans tend to do, try to make this game exciting, but it really isn't an exciting game. The Bengals team is too young.
Having said that, the last game the Rams played was shambolic.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing that is making this game exciting for me is the fact that the Rams are, in my opinion, quite crap. They can't close games.
Who did they play last? Who did they play last? It was against
the 49ers.
The 49ers, yeah, and it was just it was an ass game. I don't think what happened. It was they won by a field goal. Was it at the end?
They won by a field goal, and Jimmy G did jack shit at the end. He was trying to give him the game, and they were still trying to find ways to make the game as close as possible. And they only won on their last, I think it was their penultimate drive.
Yeah. But it's like, bro, like they were, I think 10 points down at the half or something like that. It was like 13-3 or something like that. I can't remember. Or was it 17-7? I can't remember.
I can't remember what the score was. It wasn't a very big difference.
And I was like, dude, the 49ers are one of those teams where I'm just like, the 49ers are the team that will clear out the worst teams in the NFL. So everyone that's like got 0.5 and below, that the 49ers should be clearing. Everyone above that, the 49ers should just be getting should be getting smacked, because they're not a particularly good team in my opinion. Their offense, obviously they got Debo and stuff like that, but Jimmy G, I don't rate. I don't think he's particularly great. And then their defense, to an extent, is good. It seems to have a good, as kind of I expect now from the 49ers. Their linebacking core seems to be okay, seems to be pretty decent, and their D-line seems to be pretty decent-ish, I think, because Bosa especially is there, but I think they also have a couple other players who are good on that D-line.
Yeah.
But other than that, they should be the team that's getting torched by everyone. So the fact the Rams, who are kind of like this all-star team, kind of, with Stafford and Beckham coming in, they got Cooper Kupp. Who is their third receiver?
They don't really particularly have one, if we're being honest.
Is it the tight end Higbee?
Higbee, but he injured himself quite badly in the last game.
Oh, yeah, actually, is he out then? Is he
I
done?
think so. How they are with injury reports. But
it's the same with the Bengals actually, because Uzama's out as well.
Yeah, the irony actually, you say that, yeah. But yeah, it should be a good game, simply because the Rams have a tendency to not close out games properly. But realistically speaking, I'd like the Bengals to give it a good game, because I'm kind of impartial. If the Bengals win, if the Rams win, the Rams win. I like Matt Stafford and I like Joe Burrow. I just think that Joe, with the Bengals, they're quite new to the playoffs. They're kind of skating by the skin of their teeth, in a way. Skating by the skin of the teeth, is that a new one? Because they're playing spoiler, they've gone into games basically saying, yeah, we're not supposed to be here, we'll just win. And they have been, but I think they're going up against a team where they've got multiple older players that have been chasing rings for years. Like Beckham has been chasing a ring for years. Stafford, I mean, come on, man. That dude's been chasing a playoff win forget about a ring.
You got the Ramseys, the ADs, Aaron Donald.
Exactly, Ramsey. He hasn't won a ring yet. Yeah, because he wasn't there the last time the Rams went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yeah, you got Von Miller, but I think he's already won one.
Yeah, but he's been chasing a second one for years, so he wants another one. Aaron Donald is like so hungry for one. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like yeah, it should be a good game, and we usually watch it together, so it should be good fun. We should get some nachos, get some salsa, get some cheese,
Get some
and
popcorn.
get some popcorn. Find a place that does this good a popcorn tub. Is it a plastic tub of popcorn?
Yeah,
So instead of
just a
making
tub of
ourselves.
popcorn.
But yeah,
Yeah.
let's move on to the main topic of today, and
Yeah.
well, I'll kind of introduce this. So today we're gonna do a short discussion about an anime which I introduced to you.
Mm.
So you said to me, when was it? Was it last week? You just came up to me and you said, "Do you have an anime that I should watch?" And I was like, "I've got plenty, but there's one that I think you'll really like because it's a comedy anime, and it's kind of got its style would suit you. That it kind of has your kind of feel to it because me and you have been brother and brother for what 25 years, or 26 years actually.
26 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
26 years, and I think I got a grasp of your taste and you have mine as well. And I was like, you know what? Let's give this anime a go. Watch 3 or 4 episodes and see what you think. And the anime
Mm.
is called Kaguya-sama, and the English subtitle for it is Love is War.
Yeah.
So go for it. We want you to talk about this anime then. So what's it about? Give me your feelings on what you thought when I first kind of said watch this anime. Like, what were you thinking? Like, maybe not.
Mm.
What did you think?
Yeah. So when you first recommended it to me, I was like, Kaguya-sama. I've heard of that quite a bit, but not in terms of people's opinions on it. I've heard of it just like the names out there, Kaguya-sama, Kaguya-sama, and I was like, and then I saw the subtitle, which was Love is War, and I was like, nah, like I don't know, man. This feels like it's gonna be like one of those slice of life style mangas, and I was like, or animes, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure if that's the way I want to go. But because I was specifically looking for something funny, something comedic, I was like, okay, this could be good. Let's try it out. Especially like with anime and stuff like that, it's always first three, four, five, maybe ish episodes. If you get a vibe for it, then it's like, yeah, continue. So that's what I was looking to do. So the story, the general premise is there are two main characters who the story is focused on. One is called Shinomiya Kaguya, who's the lady from a very very rich family. She's kind of been sheltered, all that type of all those tropes you can think of in terms of a very super rich person sheltered from normal society, so they don't understand the normal concepts of like dating, video games, internet talk, and all that type of stuff, memeage. She doesn't get any of that, and then you get the second main character, I suppose, also the main character, whose name is Shirogane Miyuki. So Miyuki or Shirogane and Shinomiya, they both like each other. So he likes her, she likes him, and they're both part of the same club in this school. So the student council, I think, is what they're part of.
But to give a bit of background to that, they're both kind of revered in the school that they end in the high school, and I think the story starts off their second year of high school,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're at the top of the student. They're the two highest ranked students. So you've got Miyuki, who's he's the number one student in the second year, as in exams ranked. Yep, and he's been voted student council, and his vice president is Kaguya, who's the second ranked student. So they're both competing, and she always ends up losing to him, and
yeah.
they're always trying to kind of get one over each other. But yeah, they're both in the student council, and that's where the main setting is.
Yeah. So Shirogane is the president of the student council, and she's his vice president. And like I said, they both like each other. They're both competing in terms of grades. He's known for being this like incredibly intelligent and hardworking individual. So studying is his thing. Like nobody's been able to beat him
He's
in
a
studying since like the third term or something like that.
he's a commoner as well. So that's the other difference between the two. She's from a rich family. He's just like from a common family. He has to work part-time jobs and do his studies.
Yeah, yeah. So like one of the tropes is that he gets very little sleep
Yeah,
because he's either working, doing student council stuff, studying, other part-time jobs, taking care of something,
he's got
all that type
bags
of
under his
stuff. So
eyes.
yeah, he's got bags. He's a proper caffeine monster. But yeah, so that's the general trope. and she's more of like, she's got all these like, because she's had so much exposure to different aspects of life. She's meant to be in sports. She's meant to excel tremendously. So she's got multiple trophies, possibly for things like archery, judo. We don't know what she's got trophies in, but she's meant to be a bit of an athlete. We don't actually get to see too much of that, from what I understand. But I think they do mention it in like the first season quite a bit.
I didn't remember that bit, if
Um,
I'm honest. The athletics bit. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
they said like she had multiple trophies in like sports and stuff like that. So I
All
was like,
right.
okay, so she seems to be an athlete, but she's also super intelligent. So the whole premise of the anime is that because they're both so prideful, so stubborn, they want the other to say to them, "I like you" or "I love you." So they want the other person to confess to them. So Shirogane wants Shinomiya to confess to him, and Shinomiya wants Shirogane to confess to her. But they're not willing to like kind of meet in the middle. There's no way that's happening. So neither of them actually knows that the other likes him. They have a suspicion, a sneaking suspicion, but they don't know for sure, anywhere near for sure. So that's kind of the general premise. It's just I'm gonna make that person confess to me, and there's no way in hell I'm gonna confess to them. And then it's just the characters that we see along the way, which are hilarious. So I think, yeah, let's actually just go into the characters and see where that takes us. So let's start off with Shirogane. Um, so I'll talk a bit about Shirogane first. So he's, yeah, very very kind of not an upper class individual. He seems to be, because he didn't start off in this high school that they're in. He kind of worked his way into it. Everyone else, I think, through the anime, you find out they start off in like a middle school, which is connected to that same high school, which is then connected to like a university. So they usually stay in that same kind of stream. Whereas he joined from a different middle school into that high school. So he seems to have worked his way into it. And he's very like hardworking, but he's also, what I really, really like about this anime, and what really got me invested in it, was the inner monologues we get to see from each character. So they'll be doing something like, let's say if they notice something about the person they're interested in. On the outside, they'll be like really smooth, calm, collected, and then on the inside, they're just shitting
Yeah.
bricks. And they're like screaming.
Ah!
Yeah, it's just like, ah! It's like, so that's what got me really, really invested in this, because of that duality. And what I noticed, like from almost the first 3 episodes, maybe 4 or 5 episodes in, I was like, the voice actor for Shirogane sounds very, very familiar, especially when he loses his cool, like in his inner monologues. I was like, he sounds a lot like Saitama from One Punch Man. So I went and looked, and he's actually Saitama from One Punch Man. He's the guy that voices Saitama. So I was like, bro, they couldn't have picked a better voice actor for this, because he's that guy, even as Saitama, who's like usually like deadbeat, deadpan. He doesn't really display too much emotion. But then as soon as something goes wrong, which affects him personally, like for instance Saitama, as soon as like he finds out he missed a sale at the superstore or something like that, his life just collapses around him, and he's like, ah! So yeah, I really like that aspect of it. But yeah, so Shirogane is this very hardworking individual, and that seems to be his thing. And one of the other things they make a lot of fun of, if you remember actually in the first season, is the fact that he's never had a girlfriend. So that's one of the other things. He's never had a girlfriend. He doesn't seem to be he doesn't seem to go after very many girls, but I think he's meant to be quite popular himself, because student council president. He has that air around him.
Yeah.
So there's that, and that's his thing. And then there's the other trope is he's not very good at things like, for instance, sports. So, well, in particular, sports which require hand-eye coordination. And then he's not very good at things like singing. And then I'm assuming there's going to be a whole bunch of other things which are just like what normal people could do, but he just seems to be incredibly bad at.
He's very bookish, is what you're trying to say, right? So he's very good at like doing the book kind of subjects, but anything that requires any kind of creativity or something like
Yeah.
that, if it's not like literature or something like that, he's quite weak at.
Yeah, yeah. So that seems to be his character in a nutshell. And I really like his character because he's easy to relate to. It's funny because like I think I'm a bit more on the bookish side of stuff as well. Though I also really enjoy playing sports, so I don't get him there. But you detail to us then what Shinomiya is like. Shinomiya Kaguya.
Yeah, so you already mentioned most of the kind of traits about her. She's from a rich family, uh, and she's in competition with Miyuki, but she also really likes him. You know, he's like very kind to her, and she's like the only person that she kind of is a little bit submissive towards. Like, you know, she listens to him, and like, you know, she acts as a vice president. She's his partner, like, you know, in the school to try and sort out the school's problems. You know, when they're doing all the speeches and all that kind of thing. Um, yeah, her main character trait is she's very kind of like what's the way to describe her? She's got quite like a dark personality. So like Miyuki's quite straightforward, but like she's kind of like really keeps things hidden. She has like an evil look to her, and she scares people away. But inside, she's just like really like a really got like a soft heart, and she I mean, she's sheltered. The best way to describe it. She's a sheltered like rich girl, but she's kind of protective of herself from other people. She doesn't really get close to many other people. Um, yeah. So the next
Yeah.
character that's probably worth talking about, probably the first one we're introduced outside of those two main characters, is Chika. I think that's her name.
Yeah, Fujiwara Chika.
Yeah, yeah. She's like a pink-haired anime girl character, kind of like a cutesy type, but she's hilarious because I think she knows that they both like each other, but
Yeah,
like
to an extent, yeah.
yeah. So she's what is she? She the treasurer, is it, or what does she do?
Because I think the other one, Ishigami, I think he's the treasurer or
Yeah,
the
that's right.
accountant,
Yeah.
and
So
she's like the secretary. She's the secretary.
yeah, yeah. So she's the secretary. And yeah, she's in like all of these characters. The main ones are in the student council. Um, yeah, and she's been friends with Kaguya. I think she's friends with Kaguya. I think she's been friends with her for a while. Um, but she's also a rich girl as well. All of these characters are rich, apart from Miyuki, really, because he's found his way into the school. So these characters have all been part of the same kind of school system. I think they call it like an elevators school or that. But she's like the fun character. She's always trying to make them do like weird things in the student council to make all these like activities and stuff like that. But she's hilarious. Yeah, how would you describe it?
Yeah, so I think the way they all describe it in the anime is she's the unpredictable one. So
Yeah,
whenever something's going like if whenever there's a good vibe between Shirogane and Shinomiya, she'll come in and like just totally ruin things, like either destroy the vibe or say something or do something which will drag the conversation away, and she'll become like centerpiece, or just completely just derail the train of thought that was going on between the two of them. So she's Mrs. Unpredictable, but she's, yeah, like you were saying, she's very kind of fun. She's very bubbly, but she also has this like very like this
cynical.
side to her where she's very suspicious, and like she's like the love detective.
Yeah,
So she's always trying to like help out people finding love and stuff like that. So she has this really funny balance between like being very perceptive and very intelligent, and then on the flip side being completely stupid
like being a
and
complete airhead.
yeah, yeah, complete ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's like it's a really fun balance in a character where she's like really really intelligent, but also really stupid. And we'll come back to like a few of the scenes with her, which were like they were pretty iconic because there were loads of memes and stuff online, which I'd seen before I saw Kaguya-sama,
yeah.
and she was always involved in them.
And if I'm honest, now this anime for the most part is quite. It's like it's skit anime, so it's sectioned off. Not necessarily by the episodes, but each episode is made up of several skits, like comedy skits. Now, I think my favorite ones pretty much all involve her somehow, in some shape or form. Um, but yeah, the next character to talk about, and it's probably it's the final character of the student council group, um, is Ishigami.
Yeah.
So yeah, describe him. So I personally think, because he gets introduced a little bit later, I think about 3 episodes in or something like that. I believe that the anime really kicks off or gets into the flow of things once they introduce him, and it's what I said to you when you were kind of watching it, and I was like, just wait until he comes along and then make your decision on the anime then.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ishigami Yu. So he's the treasurer for the student council. And the best way I could kind of describe him is he encompasses everything that's kind of a neat, but he's at school.
Yeah,
So he's got that very like I think not even a neat, he's more of an otaku. So he's very kind of he's not necessarily reserved, which is what I like about Ishigami. Like usually in these types of characters, they make them very reserved, very perverted and stuff like this. And you're just like, okay, yeah, cool, but like kind of have a twist to it. And I think that's where Ishigami is different to the other otaku style characters we've seen in hundreds of other animes, where he's not necessarily he's more reserved, but when he's in a position where someone asks him about something or something like that, and he has an opinion on it, he becomes like confidence 1 million. The guy is like ready to be like, oh nah, boxer briefs and type stuff like that, which is in the second season. He gives his whole opinion on it and all that type of stuff. So he's very into that type of stuff, and I think he's like the son of a toy manufacturer, like a huge toy manufacturer or something like that. But he's basically very very quiet, but then he has his own opinions on
he's
stuff, a whole bunch of
opinionated.
different opinions, and he gets on very well with Shirogane, but he is excessively afraid of Shinomiya because of her kind of persona, her tsundere
Kaguya.
persona.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's call them Kaguya and Miyuki, just to keep
okay.
things consistent. So, yeah, he's really afraid of Kaguya, especially like I mentioned to you about her dark side, and he just thinks she's evil. You know, he takes things out of context. The cool thing about his character is they give him a really cool backstory, and it gives him, and they also show why he's such good friends with Miyuki as well. They're all older than him, so Chika, Kaguya, and Miyuki, they're all in second year, and he's in first year, I believe. I can't remember if that's
Yeah,
true. I think he's younger
yeah, I
than
think
them.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah, so there's a bit of backstory, why he's so kind of reclusive. He used to be even more reclusive, and then Miyuki kind of helped him come out of his his reclusiveness and get back into society and get back into school and stuff. So yeah, his backstory is really worth going into. It's really cool. He used to get like bullied and stuff like that. He was outcast by his his peers, his classmates, peers. It's like he's working or something. But yeah, like the relationship between him and Miyuki is funny, and then just him crapping it every time Kaguya comes
yeah,
along.
yeah. So that seems to be one of the things with him, which is he's constantly misunderstood by women. So a lot of the women in the anime will hear him say something, or he'll be saying something to Miyuki, and then he'll be misunderstood, which is then why like Kaguya will like just give him a death glare, like, oh, that's what you think, and he'll be like, what, like I didn't say anything like that, and then he'll be like crapping his pants. But then the other thing is he's also a very kind of tragic and like unfortunate character, where when he is saying the wrong things, the people that are there that he's talking about tend to be right behind him or something like that. They hear what he's saying, which is usually in the form of Chika. So Chika is usually behind him while he's talking about like her appearance or something like that, or her body, and it just results in him being abused, and it's hilarious to see.
Yeah, and I like when like he's talking to Miyuki about something. Miyuki either sees like the person in question behind him, and he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, he just bails out the conversation and pretends
Yeah,
that he's just like, you on your own, bro.
yeah. That's
I'm not going down with this ship.
yeah. See, the thing that gets me that started getting me to I was laughing my ass off through it every time this scene happened was when Miyuki would realize, he'd be like, oh crap, like Shirogane, oh sorry, and Kaguya and Chika, they're right here. So he would be like, oi, oi Ishigami, and he'd be like trying to warn him, and Ishigami would just be continuing, and he'd be like, oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, and he'd be trying to warn him, and then he'd be like, "Brakey!" like, which I think it means like hold the brakes or something like that. So I was laughing my ass off because he was like, "Wait, wait, wait, Ishigami, break!" So I was like,
Stop!
that was hilarious.
Stop!
Yeah. So
I just bit my lip
that,
there.
that that was hilarious because he's actively trying to stop his friend from like digging a deeper and deeper hole to bury himself into. And Ishigami is just like when he reaches that mode of like I have an opinion to deliver, and he goes in confidence and he's starting to say something, he doesn't stop. So he gets wrecked by his own kind of pride.
Yeah. But yeah, those are like the four main characters. No point going into like some of the side characters. I think the main one that we can talk about, and then we can move on and talk about the rest of the anime, is Kaguya's maid. I can't remember what her name is.
Hayasaka, I think.
Hayasaka, yeah, and she's like this like kind of ultra capable, like like she can like fight, she can like protect. Like there's like a lot of mystery behind her, but she ultimately takes care of Kaguya. She's her personal maid, and she helps Kaguya to do uh, out in her daily life, but also to try and come up with you know with ideas on how to fool Miyuki into confessing to Kaguya and other stuff like that. And then sometimes she just goes completely off the rails as well.
Yeah, yeah, she's kind of like the straight man to Kaguya's in a child where she's trying to get Miyuki to confess to her, whereas Hayasaka's just like, look, you spent 2 days, 3 weeks, a year, however long, trying to get this guy to confess to you. The easiest path is just go from A to B, tell him that you like him. So Hayasaka is very very kind of straightforward, a bit like Miyuki, but in this case, Miyuki's also not very straightforward.
Yeah.
But Hayasaka is just like, bro, just go up to him and tell him you like him, because he very obviously likes you too. But obviously, no one's gonna listen to her because she's she would end the anime in like an episode.
Yeah, Miyuki's more. It's not necessarily that he's a bit dense. He's quite, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to like having. He's very inexperienced when it comes to like girlfriends and stuff like that. So he'll do things where like he's like Kaguya's like, oh my god, I can't believe he's doing this, and he's just got no idea what he's doing. So yeah, so what else do you want to talk about in the anime? We've talked about the main characters. Do you want to go through some skits, or do you want to talk about something else before we get to those?
Yeah, I think let's go through our favorite skits because there's not really any the overlying story is really they have these terms, so they have winter term, summer term, and stuff like that in the school, and the really only story is the main story, which is they want to confess to each other or they want the other to confess to them, but they're not willing to do it themselves, and then that's they kind of um, flip flip the script every time. So it's, one time it'll be her doing it, one time it'll be him doing it, and then sometimes it will be a Chika or someone else will be organizing something, and then they'll kind of try and poison that activity with their own kind of way of confessing to one another. But I think there's not really much more to talk about in terms of the storyline element. So let's go into
What we can do is actually just give an overview of the anime. If you've watched, I think you watched. You've not finished the second season yet, have you? Yeah.
no.
So just give an overview of what you've seen in the first season, right? And what you watched in the second season, and then just kind of give your overall rating, and I'll do the same, and I'll kind of talk whether we recommend it, and then we can just go into talking about our favorite skits to end the podcast.
Okay, so in terms of what I've seen, what do you mean by that? Into like
Up to where you watched at the moment. So, like, well, what did you think of? You've watched the first season. I think you've watched a bit of the second season. Up to what you've watched at this point, what do you think of the anime?
yeah,
And also, like, would you recommend it?
yeah. So I think yeah, for me the first 3 episodes I was a bit like, I'm not too sure whether this is something I want to continue with, whether it's something I don't want to continue with, because it was very kind of the skit format was something that I had to get used to. So that's something if I do recommend this, by the way, that's just blanket. I recommend the first season at the very least. The second season I'm enjoying so far. I'm about I think 7 or 8 episodes through, so I'm smashing that. And I recommend that as well. But yeah, the skit format and the narrator and everything, that was something that I had to get used to because I've had narrators in other anime which I've watched like on and off. I think One Piece has a narrator, and he doesn't really get involved for the most part. maybe every now and again at the end of an arc or the beginning of an arc, when new bounties being released and stuff like that. So listening to the narrator was something where I was like, okay, this is new. This is something I'm not used to. But then one of the other things that I still struggle with to this day is there's a lot of on-screen writing and stuff like that. So it'll say like it'll show a character and then the writing will say something about the character's like personality or something like that, and they'll be saying something at the same time. So obviously, because I don't understand Japanese, I'm reading the subtitles and then having to like pause to make sure that I read what it says on screen as well. And then the narrator might jump in, and I'm just like, "Yo, this." So there's a lot of text at times, which is something which is a bit annoying because I have to pause on those parts. But other than that, yeah, it's something I recommend. So the first three episodes, I was like, I'm not too sure. Then I hit episodes 4 and 5. I remember in particular it was episodes 4 and 5. I can't remember what the exact skits were, but when I hit those two episodes, that's when I was sold fully. I was like, you know what? They're doing a really, really good job with this. The voice actors really did a good job for me, where the characters felt a lot more real. It wasn't just like, I mean, voice actors, I think in anime in general, I haven't seen an anime for a long time where I've thought, you know what, the voice acting is shit. I don't think I've seen, and I'm pretty sure you haven't seen an anime recently where you thought the voice acting is horrific. Maybe.
Not Japanese anime. I tell you what, I did see recently that had some shit voice act. My lord, I thought it was fake. I think it's the new Pinocchio. I think it's on Netflix. I think it's Guillermo del Toro.
There's a new Pinocchio.
There's millions, dude. All of a sudden, Pinocchio suddenly come out the woodwork. There's loads of like Pinocchio stuff coming out, but I think it's Guillermo del Toro. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Guillermo del Toro. Or
Guillermo del
Guillermo
Toro.
del Toro. He's released a Pinocchio thing, and I think it was a trailer for that. It was something to do with Pinocchio, and my God, the voice acting was terrible, and I like to the point where even people in the comments were like, "Is this like a parody or something?" And he's like, "Nope." But anything like Japanese anime related, I don't think I've come across any bad voice. I mean, they take it very seriously, like the quality of anime over there. Regardless of how big the budget is, they mostly take it very seriously, and it's even the ones that people don't think is a very good quality. It's still better than a lot of the Western dubbing that they do, which has improved considerably, especially over the last 15 years or so, and the stuff that we grew up with.
Yeah. I think I was gonna bring that up. The English dubbing has definitely improved from when we were first watching it, and like things like Gundam and stuff, where the voice acting in Gundam Wing, I'm pretty sure was pretty bad. It's just like, oh no, I think I've hurt myself. Oh no, he has hurt himself. Like it was very much like that.
I remember specifically the one of the women's voices in that, and because I was trying to rewatch Gundam and I need to get back onto it, but my God, the one of the women's voices in that is just like, man, come on, dude. But yeah, as for me, I was the one who recommended this anime to you. I thought it was hilarious when I first watched it. It takes a little bit of time, not as much as many anime. There's some anime that take until the final episode to really get going, and then you're like, oh crap, like where's the second season? I was lucky in this case because by the time I'd watched the first season, the second season already finished. It's hilarious. There's the main kind of the kind of draw to watch this is it's mainly character driven. So you get to see the character flaws. You get to see the good things about their characters. You get to see how they evolve as the year goes by. And how important all four of the main characters are. I mean, there's two real main characters, but then there's the other two members of the student council, and how important all four are to each other. They're all friends, and they're going through this kind of school process together, and they're all in some shape or form outcasts in some way. Apart from Chika, she seems to get along with everybody. But they're different from the rest of the people in their school, and like that is the main draw. The narrator aspect is really funny. It's a very self-referential anime. It's very aware of itself, makes in jokes. I think I wouldn't say it's called breaking the fourth wall, but it's got that kind of vibe to it,
Yeah, yeah.
and is why I call it kind of self-referential. It doesn't really, it's not like a character looking at the camera and saying, "And you know what I did yesterday." No, it wasn't. It's not that kind
Yeah,
of thing. But it has
yeah.
that vibe to it, and there's just
Yeah.
like hilarious off-topic skits as well. And we can kind of segue into our favorite skits from my kind of overview. And I completely recommend it, especially for somebody who wants a really funny anime, wants a little, if there's a bit of snarkiness to the anime, and a lot of sarcasm in there, even though you think that why you're moving on. My one of my favorite skits was where Chika just randomly by herself goes to a ramen shop, and there's like a middle-aged salaryman in there, and he's just like in this ramen
Yeah,
shop,
yeah,
and he's like, you could tell he's a regular at this ramen shop. This ramen shop is like, one of the best ramen shops around, like, really small kind of shop with like a tabletop, classic, traditional Japanese ramen shop look. And he's just looking over, and he's just like, oh, right, there's this girl who's come into the ramen shop. She's probably going to order like, a standard ramen bowl. Unfortunately, what he didn't realize was that it was Chika who walked in, the most unpredictable character in the show. And she comes in, and he's like paying attention to what she orders, and he's amazed to find out that it's like what the ramen connoisseur would order. And it's just the whole kind of interaction, like, it's completely in a monologue where he's just like, no, she can't be going for the garlic, like that kind of thing. Do you remember that skit?
yeah,
Have you come
yeah.
across that one yet, actually?
Yeah, so that was hilarious. That skit. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that was season two. Uh,
Yeah, and that's not got anything to do with any of the other characters, the main characters. It's a completely new character that they made up on the spot, which I don't think you see again. And it's just Chika who comes in and is eating. Is
yeah,
genius, and like you have the interaction from the chef as well, who owns the shop as well, and like he's also getting amazed at like what she's ordering and the way she's eating, and that is all like they're going into like proper detail. Like it's also kind of making a little bit of fun of the people who are into their hobbies, and they are connoisseurs of this kind of stuff, whether like the
yeah,
firmness of the noodle, the richness of the broth.
yeah, yeah.
It's completely hilarious, and it like completely like it like vibed with me big time.
Yeah, that was a really good scene, and I liked how they built it up as well. Because like at first you don't really know who this guy is. All you think is like, oh, he's a bit pompous. He seems to be, like these people who you'll see on Reddit subreddits and stuff like that, where they're connoisseurs and they're professionals, or they have an expertise in that particular thing. And this guy seems to be that guy, like very, very like, oh yeah, I know my ramen. But as you're going through, you realize there are like four very well known like ramen connoisseurs in this area or in Japan at this point, and he's one of them. So he's there like totally judging this girl that he's just seen walk in. He's like, yo, look, this high school girl's walked in. Look at her and her like bubbly face and stuff like this. She doesn't know what she's doing. So then he's judging her, judging her, judging her.
She doesn't
But
know
all the
about
while,
life. She doesn't know what
yeah,
it takes.
exactly. But all the while, he's like making all these prejudgments. He's like very prejudiced, and he's retracting these, and that's what I loved about it, which was it was such a weird and unique experience, especially from the Japanese perspective, because I feel like that's something which, and you'll probably know more about this, where it's very kind of a blanket statement, but the Japanese society is seen from the outside as being as being this very kind of judgmental society, in the sense of they'll look down their noses at people, especially people who are like outsiders, foreigners, uh, in a sense.
I think it's more of a case of uh, there's a set way, there's a set structure to how people should live in Japan. That
Yeah.
they all generally most of the Japanese culture follows a certain pattern. Daily life. Working 9 to 5. Well, they don't ever work 9 to 5. They work crazy hours. Over in Japan, and
Mm.
that's something that the people there want to change. But you go travel to work. You take the train, the bullet train, or whatever the case may be. You go to work. You come back. You go to sleep. It's a very kind of it's when somebody kind of goes outside those boundaries, and that's where, there's a lot of hate on NEETs, the people who are unemployed and they stay at home. They're not following that set structure, that path in life. So it's one of those where it's more of a conformist kind of society.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing
But
wrong
what I
with
like,
that, but
yeah, yeah, nothing wrong with that. That's just an observation as to how their society is. It's very different to how we are over in the West, and over in the West, we're very different to how they are in the Middle East, all that type of stuff.
yeah, and there's
But
benefits to that. There's
yeah,
a kind of stigma attached to being conformist, and me and you are not very conformist, but at times we are. Like we conform to, we have our culture, our Kashmiri culture, and we also have our religion where we conform to that. But then there's other things that we do which is non-conformist. We listen to, metal music, which is seen as very kind of rebellious, very out of the box. And very kind of got a lot of punk vibes to it. We listen to some old school punk that screw the government kind of vibe,
through
and
the creed.
screw the system. But the
Yeah,
benefits in Japan for having a conformist structure is, I think they tend to find that people tend to they kind of help each other along in a way.
yeah. They
Like
look out for each other. There seem to be a lot more. There seems to be a lot more of a focused effort on communal
yeah, that's right.
obligations.
That's the kind of what I was trying to describe. Yeah, so it's doing things for the betterment of your fellow, neighbor, your fellow man. Even though there is, especially in like kind of Tokyo, you have a lot of people there, and there's a lot of kind of studies going on where there's a lot of loneliness as well.
Hmm.
But it's to do things to not annoy other people in Japan really is kind of like the overall. But yeah, going back on topic, I suppose, before we get
Yeah.
too
So
far
the
off track.
the thing that I liked about this skit was how like I was saying, he's making all these prejudgments, and then he's making these observations which are strengthening his judgments. He's like, oh yeah, she doesn't know anything because she's got super firm noodles. Who gets super firm noodles? And then he's seeing that she's making like mini ramen spoon, and he's like, nah, cause like she doesn't know what she's doing. He's like, that's a valid way of doing it, not the way you should be doing it. But then he realizes like,
He's
oh
like,
wait a
but
second,
wait,
maybe that's the reason why she's got super firm noodles, because like she's making mini ramen and stuff like
because
that.
she's
So
softening it
then
in the broth or something like that. I can't remember
yeah,
what it exactly
yeah.
was.
So then he's retracting all of these statements and observations because he's realizing that wait a sec, she might actually know what she's doing. And then when she's chugging down the broth, and he's having like these flashbacks to himself as
And
a
the and
youngster.
the and the chef as well. Both him and the chef are like, no, it's gonna be too salty. No, and they're
Yeah,
like, we have respect for you. And all in the meantime, she has no idea what's happened in the minds of these two
yeah,
people.
yeah. So that was a hilarious skit. I really like that skit. Let's see which other ones. I told you about this when I first watched it, but one of it was a skit in either the fourth or the fifth episode. This is what got me like into it. I was like, yo, this is hilarious. So French exchange students are coming over to Shuchin Academy, which is where they attend this school, and the student council president Miyuki and Kaguya, they're not very prepared. They're having to go basically balls to the wall to prepare for these French students coming in. So then they get to the occasion, and these French students are all talking to them and stuff like that. And Miyuki, he's doing that thing which he usually does, when he doesn't know something, he feels very insecure, but he doesn't want to let Kaguya know that he doesn't know something. Then that would give her a position of power above him. So he doesn't want to admit to her that he doesn't know how to speak French in this situation, and she says she doesn't know how to speak French either.
What does she
So
say?
then,
In his head, what does she say? She goes, "Kuwai koto," or something like that.
yeah, it's like oh kawaii or something like that,
Yeah,
which
like
is like
basically looks
that's
down at
the
him like,
recurring thing.
how cute, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So like that's the one in his mind whenever he's thinking of these scenarios. His inner monologue. Once again, the thing that makes or breaks this anime is the whole inner monologue. When they're thinking of what the other person they're trying to think, or when they're trying to like surmise what the person might be doing, assuming things and presuming things,
And then it turns
that
out
makes the whole
nothing
anime.
like that due to various events. Or it
Yeah,
turns
yeah,
exactly like one of the scenarios that they thought up, but they were like, you know what, we ain't got a better option, so let's go for it.
yeah, yeah. So in this situation, Miyuki feels left out because he can't speak French, and he actually realizes that Kaguya and Chika can both speak French very well, very very well. Because obviously, the one Chika's like the daughter of a politician,
I think
so she
I think that's one of Chica's character traits. She can speak several languages
yeah yeah yeah,
fluently.
and Kaguya is just very rich, so she would have been exposed to that and taught stuff like that. So in this situation, for some reason, the president of Shuchin wants this French-speaking lady to go to Miyuki and to just break him down. She's known as like the razor tongue or something like that. So he wants her to go to him and absolutely cuss him out and like totally strip away his pride and I don't know, just break him down emotionally. So she's up for it. She goes and she just basically walks straight up to Miyuki and starts absolutely blasting the guy, blasting his parentage, blasting his love life, all this stuff.
In French.
And where they sat there knowing, sorry, what was that?
Is that was in French, wasn't it?
Yeah, in French.
She's
She
cussing
does
him
it
out
all
in
in French.
French.
Yeah, all in French. And the thing that really got me like so hyped and so, why I enjoyed the scene so much is because the reaction that Miyuki has here is exactly the reaction I have when people come to me from my country and they speak to me in our language. Because I'm basically the exact same way Miyuki is with French, with what we refer to as mirpuri or patois. I have a very bad understanding of it. I'm okay, kind of like Miyuki, but usually I'm just like smile and wave kind of thing, and that's exactly the reaction that we got from Miyuki. That's why I loved it so much. She's absolutely blasting him, swearing in all the different colors of the rainbow, and he's there going, "Oh, oui," and she's getting phased because she's like, "Yo, he understands what I'm saying. He doesn't give a rat's ass." And then the part that really sold it for me is she says something to him like, "Oh yeah, you're just trash," something, and then she says something about like enchant or about his lover or something, and he just looks at her and goes, "Ha, exactement." I was like, you know, this guy. So then what happens there is Kaguya hears all of this. She steps up and she absolutely destroys that lady. But it was just Miyuki's whole persona and his reaction, not wanting to confess that he doesn't understand French, even to a French speaker, while he's getting blasted, and he's just like, "Oh yes, oui." So that was hilarious. That was one of my favorite ones.
I got one more, and if you've got one more, we'll talk about that, and that's what we'll have time for.
Okay.
So the actually it's kind of like a group of scenes. So I think in the first and second season, they so there's parts in the story where Miyuki doesn't know how to play basketball, and he's worried about.
No, was it volleyball?
I don't think it was volleyball. It was either volleyball or basketball. He doesn't know how to play it, and he doesn't. He's obviously he's unathletic, so he doesn't want to make a fool of himself, especially in front of Kaguya. And I think in the second season, while the other skit is very similar, where he doesn't know how to sing, is it? Or it was like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
dance singing combo, wasn't it? Or something like that.
I think there's an episode coming up about dancing, but there was a separate one that I've seen about singing.
Yeah. And both instances, he gets Chika. He gets Chika to help him, to train him. And it's just hilarious because she's doing the utmost to try and get him to to play basketball slash volleyball to an average level, like to the point where he can actually just throw the basket, to a person, let alone into the basket itself. I think it was volleyball. You're right. Yeah, it was because he was smacking the ball, and so he's like chucking the ball up in the air, smack it, and completely missing it. And at times, it wasn't he hitting his own face with the ball.
Yeah,
And she's just looking at it, and she's just like, "You got to be kidding me, right? Don't take the piss." And he's just like, "No, I'm serious. I can't do it." And it's just the amount of effort that she goes through, and she looks all like disheveled and stuff at the end of going through this massive ordeal to get him up to averageness. And she's just there like saying, "That's my son over there," that kind of thing. What was the line that she uses?
Yeah, I raised that boy.
I raised that boy. Yeah, she's like, "I raised that boy." And it's just like the reactions from Chika and how she's just like, "Oh my god, he's really, really bad. Like he's worse than even your like below average at times. Like especially when it comes to hand-eye coordination related stuff." Yeah, just the interaction between him and Chika, and like her getting him up to speed is just hilarious. And same with the singing and how he makes her ears bleed.
I'm trying to think of another scene that I liked. Because there's loads and they kind of just meld into each other.
Yeah, because they're
Uh,
quite short skits. I mean, generally, the episode's about 20 minutes long, and a skit can be literally 5 minutes of the show. Like, and sometimes they'll fit in even like a 2 minute skit at times. Um, I think in terms of on social media, a lot of people like Hayasaka the maid whenever she's
yeah,
involved with one of the skits because she turns into a different person because she's going to the same school as everybody and she's dressed up as like a gal, like teenage girl, but she just kind of looks over to see if Kaguya is fine, like her kind of bodyguard. But she's faking being at school and she's pretending to be somebody completely different, like a really bubbly character when she's really not. And like, there's a scene where she just goes, "Hey, hey!" A lot of people use that on social media quite a bit.
yeah. Um, what are the scenes? There's a whole bunch of them. There's like um, there's the which ones was it? Or were there? So there's the one initially Gami, and this didn't really involve Miyuki that much, but it's when Ishigami comes in and he's resigning, and he's telling he's telling Miyuki, he's like, "Yo, look, I'm gonna resign, but it's not because like I want to kind of leave the student council. It's more because I feel like I'm gonna die soon." And then he's going through like all the different misunderstandings he has with Kaguya, and we get to see from his aspect what Kaguya looks like and stuff. But actually, one of the episodes so this is second season. I was trying to focus on the first season, but let's go into the second season a bit. One of my skits that I thought was really weird when I was watching it, but it was hilarious as I was going through it, was they've all just read this shoujo manga, this kind of slice of life manga called like something like I like it sweet or something like that, and it's they all read this manga and they all start crying when they once they've read this manga and they all want to feel they want to feel loved afterwards. So then what happens in that episode is the episode actually has the ending occur halfway through the episode, and you're like, what the hell? So I skipped the ending and I went to where the episode starts again, and it's still the same episode, and it's suddenly been drawn in shoujo style, in like a shoujo style. So it looks very like Ouran high schoolish slash skip beatish. It looks very much like that, and the voice actors have all like gone 3 octaves up for some reason, and Ishigami and Miyuki are both hitting on Kaguya. Kaguya doesn't know which one she wants to pick, and then Chika comes in and kind of smashes like this shoujo world apart, but they keep falling back into that shoujo kind of appearance, and I just thought it was hilarious. It was really well done. You remember that one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you actually just reminded me of probably the last one we'll talk about at this point. Um, there's a skit where Miyuki finally gets some good sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so he actually finally gets some good sleep, and his eye bags go. He goes to school, and everybody's looking at him, and they're like, "Oh my god, look at this handsome-looking guy!" And his eyes look drawn properly, like proper anime style, but without like the insomniac-looking kind of thing going on. And everybody's like, "Oh my god, like we really want to get along with this guy. Like who is this guy? Like oh, it's the student council president. Yeah, man, let's invite him to come out." And then he goes all the way to Kaguya, and she looks at him, and she's just not interested at all. So he thought, "Oh yeah, look, I look really handsome now. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna seduce, like I'm gonna make her confess to me now that I've got like my proper looks." He goes up to her, and she's just like, "Yeah, I liked you better before when you had your with your eye bags."
yeah,
She's just like
yeah.
you
She
don't
liked
look.
it, like, intense there.
Yeah, because with his eye bags, he just looks like he's got like resting bitch face like all the time. He's just
Yeah,
like he's just got like a glare to him, which
yeah,
puts people off. But she apparently vibes with that more than the the kind, handsome look that he's got going on.
yeah. Yeah. So that was hilarious as well because then she goes and she's like trying to get advice from all these people around what true love is, because she feels that if I don't like him just because something in his appearance has changed, Is that really true love? So then she's getting it like she's getting advice from like this one person, kind of a recurring character, who Miyuki and Kaguya, they usually give advice to this couple who they kind of put together. But now Kaguya's getting advice from her, and she's there basically just like flustered and completely taken aback because Kaguya's talking about true love and stuff like this, and she's like, "What? Are you like 5 years old or something? What's wrong with you?" And then like Ishigami comes and he his own kind of take on true love and stuff like that. So it's just hilarious, like how everyone and she's basically just flexing her opinion based off of whoever makes her feel better. And actually, there was another skit, another scene where I've forgotten what it was about, but she goes into actually this one was hilarious. It was when she goes into her own mind, and you see like the different personas she has. So you have one that with like a flower coming. It's a courtroom situation.
Oh, right, yeah,
So
yeah,
one with the you remember this one with
yeah.
the flower coming out of her head, and this is like the stupid love struck Kaguya. So she's just like her eyes are just like super wide. She's got a flower coming out of her head, and she's the one who speaks like 3 octaves higher, really. And then you've got the Ice Queen, kind of very sharp, very uppity and upper class kind of version of Kaguya, and she's there like basically saying, "Yeah, we don't love this guy. We could find any man in the upper echelons of society who are better than Miyuki and stuff like this." Interaction. The child version of her was the judge. That was a really good scene as well.
Yeah, yeah. You actually remind me of the couple. There's a skit where they're trying to get a couple together, even though both of them don't have any experience with having a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Um, and so like their advice is like shaky at best, but then that couple ends up being more experienced than them two. But we won't go into that for the sake
Yeah.
of kind of getting to the end of this episode and saying, yeah, this show, definitely give it a watch. It must be on Crunchyroll or something by now. Yeah, use whatever means you can to watch this anime. It's a huge recommend from myself, and I assume for you as well. You need to finish the rest of the
Yeah,
second
yeah, yeah.
season. The
Yeah,
third
I'd recommend.
season's coming out soon. I think some point during this year. Obviously, there's been a lot of delays during COVID for a lot of anime, but yeah, I mean, the third season will be an interesting watch. But yeah, I think that's it for today's episode. I think next episode we'll be talking about Evil Dead 2, which we're expecting to watch tonight. And Evil Dead is one of our favorite franchises especially the first film. These are the Sam Raimi films: Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, and then Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness. I think
Yeah.
most of the time it's not even called Evil Dead 3; it's called Army of Darkness. Just that. But for some reason in our local cinema, they're showing this on the big screen, and we just thought, hell, why not? Let's go watch it. It's
Yeah.
once in a blue moon experience. Might as well go watch one of our favorite movies. I think it's one of my favorite movies. I'm not sure about you. It must be one of yours.
Yeah, I think just the nostalgic value we have because we watched it when we were quite young as well. So
I watched it when
yeah.
I was 11 years old.
Hmm.
I think it's rated 15. You know.
Yeah, it might be. Don't do us over YouTube. We watched it when we were 15 plus.
Ah man,
But
it's 18. It's 18 years too late to do me over for that. But yeah, we'll be talking about that and possibly the other films as well. We might as well kind of knock them out, but we'll see. But we'll see you guys next time on 1,000 Calorie Cheese Sauce. Bye.
peace.